Thank you guys for coming out. In the, I know it's hard, especially to get towards the end of the year and stuff. So I do appreciate you guys coming out. And so ya, maaf ya, saya bisa bicara bahasa Indonesia, tapi masih ada masalah dengan bicara di semua. So if you want to ask questions in English or sorry in bahasa, just please feel free. I'll be able to respond in English. So yeah, maaf. So just to give you a quick, just thanks to Microsoft for hosting. If you haven't joined our various online communities, we've got a Meetup group, we've got a Gophers, a Telegram group, we've got a Facebook group. There's also probably some other stuff kicking around other places, but please join if you haven't already. So if you're not familiar with GoJakarta and what Scale Jakarta is, so GoJakarta is a monthly meetup group. I started it, I think, from, 0 users to 100 million users or whatever that is. And it's not really specifically focused on any one kind of technology, but it's also kind of going to be focused on, things around technology such as, everything around kind of software engineering, whether that's agile practices, whether that's, how to properly, scale or to do marketing, to scale marketing even, like it's kind of open on topics there. So that, okay, so we're always looking for presenters for either for Scale or for GoJakarta. So if you're interested, please contact me or contact Dimas. He is sitting standing there in the back, taking photos. But we're pretty easy to find. So if you're interested in talking about the Go programming language, or you want to talk about for Scale, if you want to talk about your large, giant Laravel PHP app, please come see me. I really need speakers. It's really hard to find stuff. So the next meetup, by the way, for Jakarta is probably going to be around December. We don't really have a specific yet. It's kind of hard to do scheduling at that time of the year. It's kind of hard to do scheduling at that time of the year. And I'm not going to be here in the country, so I'm leaving end of next week. So. Okay, so basically we're going to cover here Go on the cloud. I'm going to cover a couple of things here, and I'm going to show you what a quote-unquote idiomatic Go app really should look like. I know the biggest question I get from people who are new to Go is really how to lay out packages, how to lay out files, really kind of simple things. And I want to show you the basics about how simple a Go app really truly can be. I see so many people trying to shoehorn, Java ideas or PHP ideas or Node.js or Python or something, and Go is much simpler than these other languages. And I'll show you kind of how to put all of that together here, and I'll show you basically what is possible. Let's put it that way. And what I've found in my experience as a technologist is that it really wasn't until I saw somebody else do something until then that I actually really understood, oh, that's how you do that. That's how you accomplish that. And so I'm hoping to share that kind of learned knowledge with you tonight. So this is the goal for the night. So the first half is going to focus on just writing the app in Go. The second half is going to focus on basically deploying that app in the cloud and how to scale that app out to many millions or hundreds of thousands of users or whatever your specific application. So while the first half will be on Go, what I'm going to show you on the second half is actually not necessarily specific to Go. It's going to be scaled out using Azure Kubernetes service, AKS. And if you were here for the last Scale meetup, basically I showed you how to set up from scratch a Kubernetes cluster. And tonight I'm going to instead show you how to use managed cloud service which is significantly easier and faster than the stuff I showed you last time. So this is basically the goal. Is I'm going to show you how to build a standard REST app in Go. I'm not going to do the fancy stuff that we're doing at my company. I'm just going to show you the very bare basics, REST implementation that, and I'm purposely not going to use third-party libraries and stuff like that, okay? So just to give you an overview of what the app is, I'm going to just basically do a simple, full end-to-end app that allows you to read and write it's going to be a REST API that allows you to read and write authors and books. If you guys are not familiar with the books kind of standard database example, it's kind of like the various simplest, smallest set of relative entities that you can get that kind of shows multiple properties of like how entities are really designed to be set up. So what we're going to do is we're going to have basically just an author. That's just a very simple field. It's just an author's name in the database, and it's going to have a unique ID. And then basically we're going to have books that have, there can be, authors can have multiple books. Books can only have one author. For simplicity's sake, we don't need to go too in depth on that. And then authors are very simple. It's just the author's name, and we're going to allow indexing and searching based on that name. And then books alternately are going to have other fields such as ISBN numbers and publication dates and stuff like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to use. So I don't want to get too caught up on like, Ken, why did you choose this technology? Why did you choose that technology? Honestly, it doesn't really matter too much. Okay, if you want to choose to use Gin, or you want to choose to use Echo, or you want to use Negroni or something else, or you want to use PHP to accomplish this, to be honest, the way I'm going to show you how to do this, I can accomplish this more or less the same in any other programming language with about the same amount of lines of code as I would in Go. The fact that it's Go is kind of really irrelevant to what we're trying to do in general. So my point is that don't get caught up here on the fact that I'm using Goji for routing. I use that just because I find that Goji is very simple, and I find that as an experienced Go programmer, I personally don't need anything more than Goji, okay? Postgres is just my preferred database. If you prefer MySQL, use MySQL. If you want to use MongoDB, use MongoDB. If you want to use Microsoft SQL Server, then use Microsoft SQL Server. I'm very technology agnostic. I really don't care too much. I chose Postgres because I do prefer it, but also because later on I use the Azure Postgres service to integrate with, in addition to the API. The reason for that is that I want to demonstrate, you don't need to overthink technologies in 2018. Things can be very simple and easy to do. So literally in my app, by the way, I've actually already wrote all of this stuff. So these slides are already online. If you want to download them and play with them at home, everything works correctly. It's already set up. So literally, if you were to do an ls on the path, the only 3 files that are in that folder would be main.go, and then you have 2 directories, models and services. In my Go package, for doing a REST, this is really how I lay things out. I don't overcomplicate things. Inside my models folder are just going to be my database models and my SQL schema for managing that database. And my services is just simply the service implementation for managing those, those authors and books. Okay. All right. So just to go through here very quickly. So this is probably one of the more advanced meetups I've ever done. Just because you're going to have to kind of understand some technologies coming in here, because I don't really have time to explain, SQL schemas and Kubernetes and stuff like that. I really want to showcase the cloud and the scaling aspects here tonight. But just to give you an idea, if you're not familiar with this is just a SQL schema. All I'm doing is I'm creating a table authors here. I'm adding an index. Don't worry about exactly what it does, but it does that. I'm creating a book type that's part of the books. This here at the top is basic. So this is, by the way, this is one single file. This is schema.sql in my repository. I store it alongside my Go code. And by the way, if you're not familiar with who I am, I'm the author of an application called XO. So XO is somewhat popular online, and it generates Go code for you for whatever SQL database you're using, whether you're using Microsoft SQL Server, whether you're using Postgres, SQLite, MySQL, Oracle. It generates the Go code for you so that you don't have to write code to retrieve and to write data to a database. Okay, I'll show you a very, very simple example in just a minute of what it does and how to use it, and basically the code it generates to show what true idiomatic generated code looks like, so that if you didn't want to use my code generator, you could go write stuff on your own. Okay. All right. So this is the other part of the schema. Basically, I'm creating a books table. This is the more complex table. This is just an index I'm adding. Notice I've got a couple different variations of things. But by the way, I guarantee you, nobody here in this room has run a database larger than me in their life. I know what I'm doing when it comes to SQL. If you're not doing, so my point is that your stuff should look a lot like this, and if it doesn't, you're probably not doing SQL right, but whatever, let's not worry about that. So I follow a principle of basically database first design when I do API implementations. So I start with my data storage layer, and I design everything from that, okay?